We live in an interesting time. Some people call it the age of outrage, where people feel outrage over something they disagree with. Others call it cancel culture, which takes the form of boycotting an individual who is deemed to have acted or spoken unacceptably. Recently, the United States Supreme Court overturned the long-standing Roe v. Wade abortion decision, and predictably there was huge outrage from those supporting abortion and huge affirmation from those against it. For almost 50 years now, abortion laws in various countries right around the world rely on the Roe v. Wade decision. At some future date, various countries will review their abortion laws. My own country, New Zealand, carried out a review in 2020 of a law that has been in place since 1977. I don't want to comment on one side or the other, but instead I want to comment on the apparent intolerance from both ends of a spectrum. Intolerance can be defined as unwillingness to accept views, beliefs, or behaviour that differ from one's own. My concern applies equally to any occasion that traditional values are challenged. Put your own interpretation on what traditional values look like. My concern is around how we debate such issues without outrage and intolerance taking hold of the debate. We ask, should those who hold a differing view stay silent? And I'm not too sure that this is the way forward. It has been said that the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Silence, then, is not the best option. It seems to me that the starting point is that well-known saying found first in the Bible in Matthew 7, verse 12. It says, "Do to others what you would have them do to you." None of us wants to be beaten back by outrage and intolerance at any time. So why should we apply such tactics as we try and discuss such issues? The next verse that I think is important is found in Micah chapter 6, verse 8. "He has shown you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." But let's not leave it there. We need to find ways to draw people to us to hear our point of view. Tolerating intolerance requires a few more tools in the toolbox. Let's dig a little deeper to see how that appears. I've picked out 3 headings, all from 1 Peter chapter 3 in the Bible. These are non-retaliation, gentleness and respect, and thirdly, doing good to help others. Let's start with non-retaliation. 1 Peter 3 verse 9 says, "Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing, because to do this you are called, so that you may inherit a blessing." Referring to Jesus himself, we read in 1 Peter 2 verse 23, "When they hurled their insults at him, he did not retaliate. When he suffered, he made no threats. Instead, he entrusted himself to him who judges justly." We live in a fast-moving world, and in this instantaneous culture, we want things done. It needs to be done right now. So the current reaction to apparent unjust treatment is to demand immediate vindication, right here and right now. It seems to me that retaliation comes from a root of bitterness, and as retaliation continues, the root grows even bigger. Retaliation then becomes a fertilizer for bitterness. Retaliation only results in one loser, and that is the person carrying out retaliation. The next heading that I want to talk about is gentleness and respect. We read in 1 Peter 3, verse 15, "But in your hearts revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect." I believe that if people can see your heart, they will hear what you say. As past United States President Theodore Roosevelt once said, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." I believe that a display of gentleness and respect will open a lot of doors. It is a display of what's going on in your heart. It shows what you really care about. I like the verse that says in James 1 verse 19, "Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." You know only too well that if someone is shouting at you, you will move away in the hope that you will never see that person again. You're certainly not listening to what they have to say. Instead, it is the attitude of speaking, and you're not interested. In this, there is a simple lesson on how not to behave. And finally, I want to talk about continue to do good. 1 Peter 3 verse 13 says, "Who is going to harm you if you are eager to do good?" But it is more than that. By doing good works, expecting nothing in return, least of all payment, we are unwittingly creating an environment of trust. You may even be able to talk things over while you're working together. Doing good works is an outward expression of what is going on in your heart. People can see the heart in action, and they will be ready to hear what you have to say. Let's push through this crazy age of outrage. It is so unrealistic. There's a big wide world out there, and we are a necessary part of it. So is the next person. Let's get over ourselves. Colossians chapter 4 verse 3 says, "Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone." As we try and tolerate intolerance in this crazy world, let us not seek retribution. Let us adopt gentleness and respect. Let us focus on doing good. God's blessing on you today. Amen.